Miss April Lieben and Mr. Kern Farkon, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. The priest said in a loud voice. Have you gone completely insane? How can you wed us? The girl was indignant. The girl had taken over April Lieben's body only recently. In her previous life, her fiancé had left her with several thousand in credit debts. The girl decided to take some alcohol and go to the river. Accidentally slipping, she fell into the water. That's how her previous life ended. A few days later, the girl was reborn in April Lieben's body. She was the antagonist of the novel I Love You, Mom. This was the book the girl read briefly before her death. The girl was reborn into April's body at the exact moment of her marriage. Since she didn't feel like getting married, she decided against it. If I remember correctly, the man you are giving me to marry is dead. What is this? A wedding of souls? What is this nonsense anyway? April was outraged and tossed the wedding bouquet aside. The priest squinted at the girl. Just a short time ago, she had been very docile and had signed all the documents without question. What has gotten into her? She was right. The Count was dead, but this marriage was extremely beneficial to absolutely everyone. There's no death certificate for the Count, and there was no funeral either. In a calm voice, the priest told the girl, In any case, this wedding ceremony certainly won't bring him back from the dead. April was indignant. Mrs. Leben, why are you acting like this now when everything is almost ready? You've already said your vows, haven't you? The priest insisted. But I have said nothing. This marriage isn't valid because I didn't put my signature on the certificate, exclaimed the girl. She realized that she was talking utter nonsense, but there was no other way out. It was necessary to stop this wedding ceremony by all means. The girl remembered that according to the original story, this marriage would be disastrous for April. She could not marry a dead earl. April grasped the marriage certificate and began to pull it toward her with force. I clearly said I don't want to get married. Why do you keep persisting? You should have gotten yourself checked by a doctor. You're getting old and you're not thinking straight, April said with a grin. Explain to me, what kind of marriage is it where a woman has to marry a dead man? The priest called the guards to him and ordered them to take the girl to her chambers. Mistress Lieben, I want to assure you that I will finish the wedding ceremony, so you may not worry. You know that as of today, you are now Countess Farkon, said the priest. You old prick. Quickly give me the marriage certificate. You cannot marry me off without my consent. I say again, this marriage is null and void. April screamed and fainted. When she opened her eyes, she realized she was in a room unknown to her. Most likely, it was a bedroom. She looked around and saw a statue of a goddess. I wondered if she was the one who had brought her to this world. Hugging her knees, the girl quietly cried. She couldn't understand why she was here in this book world. After all, she was just a simple office worker. What had brought her here? Who had a hand in it? In a previous life, she had been a guarantor on a loan to her boyfriend, who was 8 years older than her. He dumped the girl with only a short text message. After that, collectors began to come to the girl every day, demanding to return the debt. The girl recalled that after the last visit of the collectors, she went to the river, where she got very drunk. She slipped on the wet tiles and fell into the dark water of the river. As her strength began to leave her, a light spot suddenly appeared. The girl began to reach for the light. After that, she woke up here in this world. The girl tried to find positive aspects for herself. First of all, she was still alive. That was already a good thing. Secondly, she had the opportunity to start a new life, without debts. The only downside was that the girl was reborn in the body of April Lieben. Unfortunately, this heroine had a rather bad fate. In the story, her stepfather sold her and married her to a dead count. In the novel, after the marriage, April started dating many men. Subsequently, she even earned the nickname the virtuoso daughter of the Biscayan Empire, although there were many men in April's entourage, but she truly loved only one. That was the crown prince. Unfortunately, the prince also loved only one woman. his stepmother Helena, the novel's protagonist. Because they couldn't be together because Elena was married to his father, the crown prince decided to kill his father. Afterward, he captured Elena and imprisoned her in the castle. During this time, April, going mad with jealousy, tried to poison Elena. The prince eventually killed her. In my past life and in this one, I've had bad luck. The only thing I'm happy about is that I'm in a time when things haven't started yet, but I've already been married off. Now I'll have to deal with it myself, April muttered irritably. Ah, you're awake already? I've come to escort you, ma'am. A priest entered the room. Haven't they taught you to knock? April shouted. This priest was really annoying her. Well, forgive me for my bad manners. I was worried about you since you got sick during the ceremony. It's good that you're fine. I came to inform you that a carriage has arrived to pick you up. The priest said in an apologetic tone. Your husband's carriage has arrived to take you to your father-in-law's estate. Well, thank goodness. I can't wait to see my father-in-law, who's going to rip me a new one. He's an enterprising rascal, isn't he? Well, show me to the carriage, said the girl, rising from her seat. Following the priest, April accidentally twisted her leg and fell on her back. Suddenly, the girl was picked up by a blonde man unknown to her. He's so handsome, April remarked to herself. Madam, what are you doing? Asked the priest. My fault. I accidentally twisted my leg and almost fell. The girl pushed the blonde man away from her with a sharp movement. Okay, let's not get distracted by miscellaneous trivia. I have to go now. You don't need to walk me. I'll walk myself, April exclaimed, and with a firm stride she headed towards the Count's carriage. I didn't seem to have done anything indecent. So why did she react that way? The blonde muttered, looking at his hands. He really wanted to know this girl's name. Madam, I would like to inform you that you will be escorted home by my knights, said the priest. He was worried that the girl might run away on the way. Do as you wish, April exclaimed and entered the carriage and slammed the door loudly. The carriage is shaking like that. Is this an omen of what my new life will be like? I wish I had a cup of iced coffee right now, April muttered, looking out the window. After a few hours, the carriage finally came to a stop. One of the knights helped the girl out. After this road, I've got no skin left on me, April muttered as she got out of the carriage. April stopped at the main gate and scrutinized the Count's castle. It was simply huge and rather gloomy. Although the Count had money, the castle looked unkempt and old. The girl also noticed that no one came out to meet her. As she approached the main entrance of the castle, the girl saw a young boy. He looked at her with surprised eyes. Well, what are we waiting for? Open the door, don't just stand there. Or are you expecting me to ring the doorbell as if I were a regular guest? And why are you looking at me like that? Is there something wrong with my face? April muttered. I'm sorry, said the guy, bowing low. The servants of this house and the master himself ignore me, treating me as a fictitious wife. They greet me as an unwelcome guest. Irritatedly thought the girl. Entering the castle, April saw 2 rows of servants. There was also a housekeeper and a butler standing there. The girl noticed that all these people were looking at her rather hostilely. They did not hide their disdain. April decided to gain their respect by all means. My name is April. From now on, I am Countess Farcon. In a loud voice, the girl announced. Welcome, madam, bowing low, said the butler. His name was Gordon. I will meet you all tomorrow. Right now, I am very tired. If I listen to everyone's name, I won't remember anything anyway. Show me to my chambers, and bring me some dinner since I haven't eaten anything all day, said April to the butler. I'm all stiff from standing here. By the way, have you noticed what kind of temper the new mistress has? Do you think she will change anything here? Or should we leave it as it is until the Count is here? The housekeeper asked the butler as soon as April closed her bedroom door behind her. We are servile people. As we are told, that is what we will do, the butler humbly replied. A maid entered April's room. The girl brought in dinner. Approaching the tray, April saw a stale loaf. Such a dinner utterly angered her. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is all the food we have." Bowing low, the maid said, "Did you really think I was going to eat this? You don't seem to quite understand what's going on here. I'm a little cranky today, and this loaf has pissed me off even more." April hissed through her teeth. She was sick of the servant's disrespectful attitude toward her. The maid hiccuped fearfully, and tears ran down her cheeks. "Why are you roaring? Do you really think I'll forgive you for your tears?" April asked. "Okay, you were just following orders. You're just a maid. Well, did you at least make me a bath?" "You see, we only have cold water. We have no way to heat your bath for you," the maid said with a smile. April could no longer contain the negative emotions raging inside. The girl screamed in anger. The butler and housekeeper burst into April's room. "Do you even realize the limits of my patience?" screamed April, grabbing the maid tightly. "What's going on here?" the butler inquired. "I was just sharing my dinner with her. She says it's all the food in the house. But if I eat this loaf, then what's left for you? And by the way, why don't you want to pour hot water in my bathtub?" April asked. "Either this castle is really empty or it has everything, but you deliberately don't want to serve me." "You are right, ma'am. This estate is empty. Nora, bring the ledger here," asked the butler to the housekeeper. April began to leaf through the ledger. The girl didn't understand why they brought it to her. After studying the ledger, April suddenly realized that the estate is completely in debt. They were living in the minus. What a nightmare! I'm in debt in this world, too, April thought doomedly. The girl did not sleep all night. She was in a state of shock. She had hoped that at least in this book world she would be able to experience some luxury. Now she would have to pay off the Count's debts. The butler entered the room and announced that April had a guest. "And who's come this early?" April grumbled on her way to the parlor. Upon entering the living room, the girl saw the blonde boy who had saved her from falling yesterday. "Good morning, ma'am." "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Duke Fitzwren of the founding family of the Biscayan Empire. My name is Lord Lake. I am the Lord of the Tower of Warlocks." "And to what do we owe the honor of hosting such an important person, my lord?" April asked with a smile. She really hoped this man hadn't come to demand repayment of any of her debts. Lake took the girl's hand and kissed it. "Madam, I have decided to pay you a visit and offer my condolences. I also want to congratulate my late friend on his wedding," said Lake. April motioned for the Duke to sit down and talk for a bit. "If I'm not confusing things, the late Earl Farkin was 44 years old. So why is he talking about friendship? There's a huge age difference between them. Is he really lying to me?" April thought to herself. "I don't understand, my lord." "Are you not too young to be friends with my husband?" April asked. "It is very simple. In the Biscayan Empire, the difference in status is greater than the difference in age," explained Lake. "So how many days did you come to stay with us?" asked April's next question. "If it's okay, I'd stay for 3 days. I need to get some of my stuff out of here," said Lake. April noticed that the butler looked at the Duke in surprise. He most likely didn't know what things Lake wanted to take away. If Gordon doesn't know anything about it, does that mean that this lord bought something from the Earl? But I don't know what it is. Maybe I should just kick him out the door and not bother with it? April thought to herself. "I'm sorry, my lord, but that's not possible. I would love to take you in, but we have absolutely no food. I cannot receive you as befits your status. Please come back a little later," said April to Lake. "But this is the Count's estate. Do you really mean to say that you're refusing me just on the basis of poverty?" Surprised Lake. April asked the butler to show the lord their ledger. "Now, what am I supposed to do? I need to find it by all means," Lake thought to himself. "If you'll let me stay with you for a few days, I'll take care of all the food expenses," Lake exclaimed. April immediately ordered the butler to prepare a room for the Duke. "Madam, hosting the Duke is a bit difficult. Word of mouth might spread about you. I highly recommend you don't do it." In an agitated voice, the butler said, "Word of mouth, you say? When there's nothing at home, we have to accept any offer of help. We need to express gratitude for any help. I understand what you're worried about. Don't worry. You'll also get the provisions the Duke will provide." Thanks to the Duke, we'll have a livelihood and something to eat. The Duke must have a lot of money. He won't be short of money, April said thoughtfully. The girl had a plan. She would raise her financial situation with the help of the Duke. A few minutes later, the Duke invited the girl to breakfast. April wondered how she could buy groceries and cook in such a short time. "Make yourself comfortable, madam," the Duke said with a smile. April saw only empty plates on the table. "And what is the meaning of this, your lordship?" April asked, surprised. The Duke helped the girl to sit down to the table. "What a bastard! Where's the food? He's trying to fool me with his pretty face. It won't work. I'm not buying it." April thought to herself irritably. "Where's the food? Looks like you didn't keep your promise," exclaimed the girl. Suddenly, Lake laughed loudly. I'm sorry. It's just that you made such a cute face. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten my promise." "Well, behold, madam," said Lake and snapped his fingers. In the same instant, the room was filled with glowing lights. As the girl watched the lights, food appeared on the table. "Crazy," marveled April. "How did you do that? The food looks very exquisite." For mages, there's no problem creating luxuries for themselves out of nothing. Madam, you act as if you've seen magic for the first time in your life. The childlike delight in your eyes is utterly adorable, Lake remarked. Surprisingly, the food created with magic turned out to be very tasty. "I'm glad you appreciated my efforts. If you have any requests, you just tell me about it," said Lake to the girl. April asked him if he could fill the hall where her servants dine with food. April then asked Lake for him to make her iced coffee. "That man is a treasure. If he wasn't a duke, I'd hire him to be my food vending machine." April thought admiringly. "Madam, we have one small annoyance," said the butler, peering into the dining room. A carriage pulled up to the Count's castle. An elderly lady stepped out of it. It was the great Countess Farkan. "If I understood correctly, the Grand Countess is my mother-in-law. She didn't even show her nose at our wedding, so why did she come here so suddenly? But anyway, I'll have to greet her," April thought. "Gordon, what can you tell me about the great Countess?" asked April to the butler. "The Grand Countess is more fashionable than young ladies. She grew up in a wealthy family and has a great taste for luxury. By the way, our house owes her a lot of money," replied the butler. "Be kind enough to pay the debts." The Grand Countess held out the bill to April. "Although this is the first time we are seeing each other, I ask you to be a good daughter-in-law and do what you must." "Not only do I have a pile of debts hanging over me, but this old hag has decided to add on," April thought irritably. "I don't agree to pay for this. Tell me, dear mother-in-law, why on earth would I owe you anything?" April asked. "Have you completely lost your mind? You are supposed to be a good daughter-in-law and obey me. What do you allow yourself?" The Countess was indignant. "Yes, I am crazy. Didn't you know it? Think of it yourself. A woman who is all right in her head, would she marry a dead man? And if you know what I'm talking about, you'd better get out of here," replied April. The surprised Countess involuntarily took a few steps backward. It worked. All you had to do was make yourself look crazy. And if you show that you're inadequate, you'll be treated with more caution. She's no match for me. In my past life, I was surrounded by freaks all the time. April thought to herself. "Ah, my sweet sister-in-law, why are you doing this to me? I have already taken care of you and brought you 5 men. You can choose any one of them, and no matter who you choose, you won't have any problems in the future," exclaimed the Countess. 5 men stepped out of the carriage. Notice, all of these men look similar to Kern. In the novel, Count Kern Farkan was described as a dark-haired, brown-eyed man. The 5 boys brought in by the Countess also had dark hair and almost black eyes. April guessed that the Countess had decided to use her for her own purposes. Most likely, the woman wanted her daughter-in-law to give birth to a child who was to receive the Count's entire inheritance. It turns out that it was because of the great Countess that April became a harlot in the book. It wasn't her conscious desire. The girl guessed. "Mother, why did you bring these boys to me? Aren't they too many? Won't there be ugly rumors? Or did you have the foresight to execute the other 4 after I made my choice?" April asked with a smile. Well, boys, hold still. I need to get a good look at you. We don't want to die, shouted the brought boys and scurried away. We'll talk later, sister-in-law, said the Countess and rushed after the boys. I thought a penniless commoner would be easy to rule, but suddenly a problem has arisen. I need to stay in this house for a while and persuade the girl. Thought to herself the Countess. Suddenly, the woman saw the movers begin to unload her carriage. Later, April explained to her that it was a payment for moral damage. The girl sold all of the Countess's belongings. With the proceeds from the sale of the Grand Countess's luxuries, April managed to pay the servants' wages. April ordered the maid to find the seal of the House of Farkan. On the Countess's last visit, the girl had managed to knock her down a peg or two, but it had been luck. The woman could hire thieves to steal the seal. Then she could forge documents and drown the estate in debt. April wanted to find the seal and hide it safely somewhere. Madam, your plan is certainly wonderful, but there is one but. Count Farkan never revealed the location of the family seal to anyone before his death. We'll have to turn everything upside down to find it, the butler remarked. April gave the servants 3 hours to find the seal. The servants scurried around the manor like a pack of rats, scrutinizing every corner. Unfortunately, the seal could not be found. The seal might have been stolen. That's the reason why our house's debt is constantly increasing, said the maid. Late in the evening, April personally went in search of the seal. Suddenly, the girl felt dizzy. She felt a strong weakness in her whole body. Lake managed to pick up the girl, who was slumped on the floor. She was unconscious. Lake picked the girl up and carried her to her room. April was running a fever. To bring the fever down, Lake placed an ice bag on the girl's forehead. She's a funny woman after all. Somehow I can't look at her without smiling. It's been a long time since I've smiled like that. Lake thought to himself. I also used to feel squeamish and disgusted about touching other people. But why is it different now? I need to be less emotional. I'm not allowed to feel affection for anyone. Madam, you are awake! How are you feeling? We were just about to call a physician. Nora, the worried housekeeper, entered the room. That won't be necessary. I just wasn't feeling well yesterday because I was sick. I'm feeling much better now, said April. Madam, I made you a dress for today. A maid entered the room. In her hands was a red velvet dress. I've never had such expensive toilets in my closet. Where did you get that dress from? April marveled. I stole it from the great countess's luggage yesterday. With a cheerful wink, the maid replied, I approve. April showed a thumbs up. The girl decided to make this maid her temporary chambermaid. The maid's name was Joanna. In the hallway of the castle, April ran into the Duke. I see you're going somewhere. And I was going to treat you to lunch like yesterday, said the Duke. Do you mind if I eat a little later? I'm going to see a lawyer early in the morning. The girl was very hungry, but it was impossible to postpone her visit to the lawyer. That is impossible, ma'am, the lawyer said in an unperturbed tone. But why? I am, after all, the victim of a marriage scam. Everyone knows of Count Farkan's death, and it is also common knowledge that he was unwilling to marry me until the last day, April exclaimed. Although the Count didn't want to marry, his relatives stole the marriage registration application and forced the marriage on me after his death. It's an abnormal marriage, no argument, but I'm afraid there's no grounds for dissolution because all the legal requirements have been met. There is still no death certificate for Count Farkan, so on paper he is still alive and eligible, replied the lawyer. Damn it, I knew it! So I can't get a divorce? In a voice full of despair, the girl exclaimed, No, not unless there's a good reason. Like misconduct on the part of your spouse or his relatives. Like grievous bodily harm, for example, the lawyer explained. So, in order for me to get a divorce, I have to have the Grand Countess Deborah beat me to a pulp. Is that it? What kind of laws are these? The girl exclaimed. Unbelievable. And I thought I was going to get a divorce and thus get out of debt. A visit to a lawyer did nothing for me. The debt continues to hang heavy on me. April thought wistfully. Don't be sad, ma'am. Laws can change. And since we're already here, let's go shopping. Joanna tried to reassure her mistress. Go shopping with no money? April resented. Joanna realized her mistress wasn't in the mood, so she hurried to get out of her sight. What's making your pretty face so tense? A smiling fat man approached April. May I meet you for a cup of tea, lovely lady? The fat man held out a red rose to April. I don't want to drink tea. Get out of my sight, April muttered. The pushy fat man was beginning to annoy her. Don't you want to have tea with a sweet scone like me? The fat man insisted. You don't seem to quite understand me. Didn't your mother teach you to clean your ears before going to bed? April said with barely contained irritation. What a shy girl I've got. They say ladies often refuse gentlemen out of embarrassment. I'm sure you've heard of my famous family. My uncle is the Marquis of Galt, bragged the fat man. Good. Then I'll send a letter to the Marquis sometime. The lady has made it clear to you repeatedly that she does not wish to associate with you, but you keep on imposing. I wonder how the Marquis will feel about this kind of behavior from his nephew, April asked with a smile. I would like to point out that you are ill-mannered. Perhaps you should think about fixing that in yourself. What the hell do you think you're doing? The only good thing about you is your face, nothing else. The fat man exclaimed and threw the rose aside irritably. Are you attracted to me only by my face? Yes, I was born beautiful, and it saddens me that people only judge me by my looks. April clasped her hands together dramatically. By the way, since we're already talking about looks, let's try to evaluate your looks as well. I'd like to point out that you have the appeal of a dried squid. Shut your mouth! Shouted the fat man. With indignation, he involuntarily clenched his hands into fists. Or else what will happen? Are you going to hit me? Come on, hit me! April was counting on the fact that if she was severely injured, she would be able to sue the fat man for a large sum of money. The fat man swung around to hit the girl. April clenched her eyes tightly, waiting for the blow. Lake approached and squeezed the fat man's hand tightly. My lady is quite vigilant. A man who raises his hand against a woman is not worthy to be in your society. We'll have to ask the Marquis of Galt why his nephew grew up so ill-mannered, said Lake, and squeezed the fat man's hand painfully. The fat man whimpered quietly in pain. And if I hadn't stopped your hand, do you think the lady would be in less pain than you are now? Lake asked. Please forgive me. The fat man knelt down in front of the Duke. It's not me you're apologizing to, it's my lady, replied Lake. My lady, please forgive me. I am sorry for being rude to you, exclaimed the fat man. What is the point of apologizing if you feel no remorse? I don't accept your apology. You weren't just rude, you were unbearably pushy. And frankly, I don't need you to apologize. Duke, let him go, asked April to Lake. April thanked the Duke for his help. Why don't we have lunch together? April suggested, to which Lake immediately agreed. I'm so tired. Why do I have such a pretty face? With my looks like this, I clearly can't avoid a repeat of this situation. Besides, everyone knows that my spouse has passed away. I, a young widow, am an easy target. April muttered, looking at herself in the mirror. I wish I had protection so no one could come near me. Although, wait a minute. I already have the right person by my side, don't I? Lake is not only resplendently handsome, but he's also a pretty skilled mage. He is also a duke. Looking out of the window of her room, April saw Lake. He was obviously looking for something. The girl jumped out of her room and rushed over to the Duke. Lake created a magic circle in the palm of his hand, which illuminated everything around him. Little glowing lights sprinkled from the sky to the ground. How beautiful it all is, April marveled. Madam, what are you doing here? Turning around startled, Lake asked. Good night, Duke. Thanks to you, I enjoyed the beautiful view, said April. Good night to you too, madam. It's late. What are you doing up? Asked Lake. I would ask the same of you. Searching for anything is best done in sunlight. What is there to search for here at night? Inquired April. What makes you think I'm looking for anything? I just decided to take a walk before bed. Smiling, Lake replied, I understand. I couldn't sleep either, so I decided to take a walk in the cool of the night. Smiling back, April said, she guessed that the Duke wouldn't admit it to her. Most likely he had decided to keep his quest a closely guarded secret. It is dangerous to go out into the courtyard at night, my lady. Please do me the honor and allow me to escort you to your room. Lake held out his hand to the girl. Actually, I wanted to say that even though we don't know each other much, your ladyship has already helped me in many ways. I am grateful to you for that. Forgive me, but I have one more favor to ask of you. April said, a little embarrassed. Your ladyship, I am in great need of a fictitious lover. What are you talking about now? I know exactly what the word lover means, but the word fictitious scares me. What do you mean by that? The Duke asked in surprise. I want someone who will give the appearance of a relationship with me in public, April explained. Is it necessary to create the appearance, madam? Many men would dream of courting you. They would have duels for that right, exclaimed the Duke. It is for that reason that I offered it to you. You, Duke, are quite different. I don't need a lover, I just want to be protected. If I had a man by my side, no one would dare harass me like that fat man. And to be blunt, I'm tired of men. I don't want to open my heart to anyone else. Unfortunately, I can't stay alone, because then men won't let me pass. They'll be after me all the time. Unfortunately, I've been blessed with an attractive appearance that attracts men to me. For a while, the Duke stood silent, pondering the girl's words. I apologize. I expressed myself awkwardly. Please forget what I just suggested to you. Embarrassedly lowering her head, April said. She turned around to leave, but the Duke stopped her. Don't run away, my lady. You haven't heard my answer yet. I was just gathering my thoughts, so I kept quiet. I accept your offer, said the Duke. Really? You're not messing with me? April couldn't believe her luck. And why are you reacting this way? Did you doubt that I would accept your offer? Lake asked. To be honest, I did. I offered it to you as I had nothing more to lose. For you, on the other hand, it was an extremely humiliating offer. Don't think there will be rumors of you going crazy, do you? Averting her eyes to the side, April inquired. To be honest, I have a pretty bad reputation, so I have nothing to lose either. My status required me to attend all sorts of balls. I never had any partners at them because I always refused to let the ladies dance. Many people think I'm unsociable and cold. Recently, there was even a rumor that I have absolutely no interest in ladies. In the beginning, these rumors didn't bother me, but then more and more people started to believe them. And to be honest, I thought your suggestion would help me as well. If people knew I had a lover, the old rumors would be dispelled. But you do realize if people think we're a couple, you won't be able to get married anytime soon, April reminded. Yes, I realize that perfectly well, but fortunately, marriage was not in my plans. The thing is, I've been haptophobic since early childhood. I don't like other people touching me, the Duke admitted. I never would have guessed that. I remember you touching me the first time you met me, and already the second time you kissed my hand. April muttered in surprise. I'm not lying to you, I swear. I promise to tell you only the truth from now on. Believe me, when other people approach me, I feel fear and anxiety. But when I touch you, none of that happens. Lake took April's hands in his. That's strange. Why does that happen? The girl asked. I don't know it myself, but I really want to figure it out. I was surprised when I touched you and felt no fear. That's why your suggestion doesn't seem like a bad idea to me, replied Lake. If in public I am seen in love with you, I'm sure no other woman would want to marry me. Lake cautiously awoke the girl's face. Well, the bad rumors around you will disappear. However, the laws of the Empire forbid a woman to remarry, so someone might follow you. Forbidden love is much more common than you think, April remarked. I can be so much in love with a woman that I won't pay attention to anyone around me. So if another lady and show interest in me, I'll ignore her. And I dare say there's hardly a prettier girl than you in the whole empire. I did not expect you to accept my proposal and turn down the opportunity to marry. Won't the elder dukes say they are against it? Or is there another heir? April asked. No, the title of duke is passed down from generation to generation. In my family, I am the only heir, replied Lake. Then why are you so reluctant to marry? Even considering your phobia with your looks, a marriage of convenience doesn't seem super difficult. April wondered. The Duke didn't answer her. He stood with his head bowed low. Forget it. If it's private, you don't have to share. I don't want to get married either. In my eyes, a wedding is crazy. With a cheerful smile, April said, Madam, you don't have to call me by my title from now on. Shouldn't we drop all formalities in public? Well, in private, too, said Lake to the girl. April agreed with his words without a second thought. It was to her advantage to be on warm, friendly terms with the Duke. Whatever you say, Lake. Take care of me, my dear partner. You may call me by my first name from now on. April extended her hand to the Duke for a handshake. Good, April. Lake pleased the girl's hand. Lake, since we're partners now, can I ask you something? The girl asked with a smile. She had one brilliant idea again. Oh, April, can I really come into your room? Lake asked the girl. That's like the 6th time you've asked. I told you 5 times that yes, you can, and I'm not going to ask you to do anything complicated. I just want to bathe in warm water. I don't know what you've got in mind at all. The girl was indignant. God, my strength has left me. I thought our deal would be good for me, but so far it's worthless. I'll soon work myself to death. The girl tried to look as haggard as possible. Looking at her, Lake agreed to heat her bath. To be honest, I didn't realize you were so shy, April said with a smile. The remaining balance is due by the due date, announced the secretary. April asked the housekeeper for the ledgers. The girl decided to double-check everything personally. April found one suspicious income in the ledger. The girl asked the housekeeper to bring in the butler. Only he could know where the money came from. Butler Gordon explained that this money was sent by the imperial family. Could Count Farkin be a descendant of the imperial family? Could there be some sort of status maintenance compensation coming into his account? Then, could I also be an heiress of the imperial family? April asked. I think it's unlikely. The Count wasn't related to the imperial family. I don't know why they sent that money, replied the butler. If it's not a salary, could it be some sort of pension or payment? It seems to have been coming in for quite some time. Would it be possible to continue to keep it? April said thoughtfully. I hate to make premature assumptions, but it's unlikely. I tried to find out the details regarding this payment, but no one contacted me after the Earl's passing. Narrated the butler. By the way, what's the status of finding the seal? Asked April. The butler answered her that they had completely searched the Count's study and his chambers, but they had not found the seal. Well, keep looking, and I'll be off with Joanna for a bit. I need to buy a new dress. My goodness, look at that carriage. That's the Fitzron family crest, isn't it? The girl in the carriage is probably his lover. How beautiful she is. The noble ladies present in the town square whispered amongst themselves. As April stepped out of the carriage, she noticed that the eyes of the others were literally fixed on her. That was to her advantage. April wanted the rumors about her and Lake to spread as quickly as possible. Countess Farcon, what were you doing in Duke Fitzron's carriage? Asked the priest, who had appeared literally out of nowhere. It was he who had forcibly married April to the late Count. What a bastard. Married me off to a dead man, and now he's pestering me. I can't believe how annoying he is. No shame, no conscience. April thought irritably. I see you're still as angry as ever. Fortunately, your life is going quite well, said the priest, and smiled happily. Huh, thanks to you, it's turning out just unimaginably wonderful. I guess I should thank you for that. Depicting a joyful laugh, said April. Mistress, you need to be extremely careful. You are consorting with a clergyman, whispered Joanna. This is an unusual clergyman. He is a priest. I have an extreme hatred for him, for it was he who gave me in marriage to a dead man." Annoyed, April exclaimed, "Oh, I think he heard your last words and didn't like them very much." With an embarrassed smile, Joanna said, "Countess, what kind of rudeness you allow yourself? What kind of ill-manneredness is this? I won't let you get away with it," the priest promised. "Did I say some rude things? How dare you, being a priest, accuse a married woman of lying?" April exclaimed in surprise. The girl took out a handkerchief and began wiping away invisible tears. Excited whispers were heard all around. People were surprised that a clergyman had insulted a beautiful lady. "No, it's not like that, don't you think? It was she who said I was shameless." The clergyman began to justify himself. "Joanna, and please tell me, have I said any rude things to this holy man?" asked April to her maid. "Something I don't recall such a thing. You were addressing me, so I think it was the priest who just misunderstood." After a bit of thought, the maid replied, "Then again, what did I say wrong? I spoke nothing but the truth. You dragged me into this unseemly affair, so I am entitled to demand an apology from you. I am the injured party," said April to the priest. "You brought a girl to tears. I didn't expect that from a minister of a god." When April crossed the threshold of the store, the owner of the store immediately approached her. "Countess, thank you for visiting our salon. I would be honored to have a lady as beautiful as you wear my dresses. I will bring you a catalog right away. One of our dresses will surely fit you." Trying on the dresses, April suddenly heard someone's quiet crying. The girl became interested in what was happening. "Mother, where are we supposed to stay now? I mean, we've been kicked out of our uncle's house. I even managed to tell my friends that I was going to make my debut in the capital, but now none of that is going to happen for me." Some girl was sniffling loudly. Joanna had told April that noble ladies from the provinces preferred to debut in the capital rather than in their home estates. But if a girl is kicked out of the home where she grew up all her life is ruined in a matter of seconds. "But she can stay at an inn, can't she? That girl must have money," April objected. "Madam, you are such a fine person. Only you are willing to endure hardships in case of anything. However, ordinary aristocrats hate some backwater inns." Joanna began to explain. "Besides, if someone dares to propose to a lady in a place like this, it's the worst thing that could happen to her life. A debut only happens once in a lifetime. I can't miss such a chance. I want to enter the Imperial Palace, and I must attend the gala at the Marquis of Cantwell's invitation." Moaning tears muttered the unfortunate girl. "Oh, we won't be able to rent a house in the capital. We just don't have enough money for that. And why aren't there inns just for aristocrats?" A woman standing nearby exclaimed. "Joanna, you won't believe this, but I just figured out a way to make us some money." Smiling happily, April said, "I'm sorry, but I overheard you two talking. I think I might be able to help you. I know I'm being insensitive, but please forgive me for that. I heard your story, and I felt sorry for you. I really want to help you," said April, walking over to the crying girl. "You see, I just recently opened a small hotel on my estate. It's where aristocrats who don't have their own estate in the capital stay. They socialize with each other while enjoying the best service." "This place is exclusively for aristocrats. It is well guarded. Naturally, one can find a good match for themselves in the course of socializing." "You mean to say that at your inn I can find a mate?" the girl exclaimed excitedly. "Mother, let us stop at the Farcon Manor. It seems to me a good place. If you become our first guests, I promise to give you a good discount," April said with a smile. She could already hear the clinking of coins in her pocket. After shaking hands, April arranged for the girl and her mother to stop by the estate in a week. Walking out of the clothing store, April bumped into the Duke. "This seems a bit odd." While paying, Countess Farcan showed the coat of arms that belongs to the Fitzrin family, yet she introduced herself as Count Farcan's consort, which means she's married, mumbled one of the saleswomen. "It is unclear to me why she showed the coat of arms of another family. And why did the Duke agree to pay for her purchases? Could there be some special relationship between them? What if she's his mistress? This girl introduced herself as Countess Farkon? I've heard that surname somewhere before. Doesn't she belong to that man? So this countess is a doomed bride who married a dead man, said the second girl seller. It was rumored that she was sold for money and forced to marry by force. There are already rumors about her in the better society. It's no sin for her to become the mistress of such a man. April, I've missed you, the Duke exclaimed and pulled the girl tightly against him. Are you done shopping yet? You told me to wait for you at home, but I really missed you, so I decided to come here. It's only been half a day, and you already look extremely tired. April ran her hand over the Duke's cheek. A lot of bad things have been happening in the capital lately, so I've had a lot of work to do. But meeting you has given me strength. The Duke pressed the girl's hand against his cheek. How tired I am. I was so worried I'd make some mistake. I felt tense the whole time. April complained, yawning sweetly. Was there anything to worry about in there? Asked Lake. Of course there was. I was worried I'd look unnatural when I stroked your face. By the way, and you were pretty good at faking it. When you hugged me and blushed, you looked like a real lover, the girl remarked. Lake smiled and thanked the girl for the nice words. Lake, do you know that the social season is opening soon? I know you don't feel like it, but we should attend 2 or 3 of them, said April. Duke agreed without hesitation. You were so quick to agree. I thought you said you didn't like noisy events. Surprised April. Yes, I don't like noisy events, but I can't ignore them all the time. By the way, these meetings are beneficial to me, and this time, I need to show the public that I got a beautiful lover. Lake gently touched the girl's face. Lake, how are things going with finding Kern's things? I don't know what exactly you're looking for, but it seemed to me like you were trying to keep it hidden from view. And if you tell me what you're looking for, I might be able to help you. By the way, I want to warn you that Farkon Manor will be opening its doors to the visiting aristocracy. For the season of social events, we will be providing lodging for nobles who have nowhere else to stay. It's what's called the hotel business. I'll give you the details when I meet with Gordon. There will be lodgers on the estate, which may limit what you can do, but it will start more rumors about our relationship. If this works out, I can get Farkon County out of debt. The Duke promised the girl to help her in everything. She was very grateful for his support. Would you like to stay at the manor from today? April asked the arriving guests. I know the opening of your hotel is in a few days, but I have nowhere to go. Could you accommodate me a little earlier? Asked the girl who had been crying in the store earlier. Any whim for an additional fee, April said with a smile. By the way, my hotel will have some rules. I suggest you familiarize yourself with them. April held out a written piece of paper to the Baroness and her daughter. Such a large fee, and yet there are rules, the Baroness muttered in surprise. Since the first guests had arrived at the manor, April decided to gather all her servants in the garden and give them a short briefing. Fortunately, the response to our hotel has been positive, but that is only the beginning. Running a business like this is much harder than selling a product. We can't read a person's mind and understand if they are happy with our service, so cater to any guest's needs. Remember, you are the face of Farkon County. It's up to you whether guests enjoy their stay with us or not. Be dedicated. After handing out the instructions, April sent off to the print shop. Welcome. Come in, have a seat, said Chen, the owner of the print shop. What's the occasion for such precious guests? Asked Chen. April told him that she wanted to order a sign to advertise. She decided to enlist Lake's help again this time. She asked to put the bill in Duke's name. The girl hoped that together with the advertisement, a rumor would spread around the empire about her close relationship with the Duke. It's a shame, but I can't spend Lake's money all the time. Right now it's important that we get talked about, so I'm using it. But someday I'll have to pay it all back to him. That's why I need my money. April thought to herself, I'd love to get a loan from the bank, but that requires the family seal of the county, and they still can't find it. In this world, aristocrats pay with family crests, but without the seal, I can't even use the money that would come into the bank. And it will be very sad if the family seal is found by my mother-in-law sooner than me. Then all the money I've earned will fall into her hands. That can't be allowed to happen. No way. Now I must put all my efforts into finding the seal. Late at night, when everyone was already asleep, April knitted a lantern and set out to find the seal. Since the late Earl spent all his time in his study, that was where the girl went first. "And what are you looking for here?" asked April as Lake approached. The girl didn't expect that there was someone else in the room besides her, so she shouted fearfully. "What are you doing here at this hour?" April asked. "You see, I couldn't sleep tonight for some reason, so I wanted to go for a walk, but then I saw you sneaking around like a cat. I followed you because I got curious, and at the same time I was worried about you," replied Lake. "I'll help you find what you're looking for if you tell me, but if you don't want to talk, I'll pretend I didn't see anything and walk away in silence. I think it will be easier for the two of us to find the seal. Who knows? Maybe he'll use his magic and find it right away." April thought to herself, "I was looking for the seal of the head of the Farkan family. It seems the Count has hidden it somewhere, so I can't find it. Without it, I can't do finance freely. Can you help me? If you help me, I will help you," the girl promised. "But I can manage without you. I don't need your help, so let's limit it to just my help," said Lake to the girl. "I think it's likely that this room has been explored several times already, so I suggest we use my magic. I will activate my search magic now." Lake created a bright, glowing magic circle from which blue lights rose upwards. "This is the same magic you used that night in the garden," April remembered. "He's looking hard for something here, but he won't tell me what it is. It looks very suspicious. Well, I won't waste my time guessing. All secret things will come out in time anyway," the girl thought to herself. Suddenly, the lights turned into a thin thread that showed the direction in which to look for the seal. Suddenly, behind April's back, a bookshelf moved aside. Behind it was a secret passage. "And what is this place?" the girl asked, surprised. "Let's go inside and see what's in there," suggested Lake. "Don't worry, I don't think it's dangerous here. Many heads of families have secret rooms like this in their homes. Only the direct heirs are told about them. That's why none of yours knew about this room out loud. It's too empty for a secret room. I even got a chill running down my spine. There's no gold or jewelry here, just some trappings of the temple. Was Kern a deeply religious man? Why would he hide these trinkets?" April wondered. "Most likely these things were of some value to Kern." Shrugging, Lake said. "So I can sell them?" April asked. "I don't think you should do that. If you mess with the temple, you'll be in trouble. The heads of the Earl family of Farkan were the keepers of the temple's records. But a few generations ago, they were excommunicated for embezzlement," narrated Lake. "Debt, and now excommunication as well. Why did I get a husband like that?" April muttered in a frustrated voice. On the table, the girl noticed a wooden box. In one motion, she ripped the lid off the box. In it lay the family seal of the Farkan family. "Well, I finally found it!" Without hiding her joy, the girl shouted. Opening the desk drawer, Lake found a piece of paper in it. As soon as he picked up the piece of paper, it immediately burned. Lake froze on the spot in surprise. "Lake, why did that sheet of paper burn? Maybe some magic was put on it?" asked the girl. "Let's go back. We've already looked all over the place," said Lake and hurriedly left the secret room. Suddenly, Lake grabbed his head and fell to his knees. April asked him how he was feeling. "I'm fine," replied Lake. But the girl didn't believe him. The Duke had an extremely pained look on his face. "I'm fine," said Lake and vanished into thin air. "Master, what's wrong with you? Are you sick?" His stuffed toys ran up to Lake. "What's going on here? Why is there such a commotion?" A frightened Rito burst into the room. "What's wrong with the Tower Master? Why is he unconscious?" asked Rito. "Shut up, Rito. I have a headache without you," Lake muttered in a tired voice. He asked his subordinate to help him get to his bedroom and put him on the bed. When Rito stepped out of the Duke's room, Kirby immediately arose. "What have you done again that you've brought yourself to this state? There's nothing I can do. I'm going to have to help you again." Kirby pulled out a dagger and ran it across his palm. Blood trickled out. "Here, drink my blood. You'll feel better immediately." "I won't do anything. You better kill me," said Lake. "What a stubborn man. I'd love to kill you, but I'm not allowed to. You know that very well yourself," said Kirby with a chuckle. Since Lake couldn't recover without Kirby's help, he had to drink blood. "I don't know what you're thinking there, but I consider you my friend. So listen to me carefully. You won't fill your loneliness with these toys that have come to life. They're no substitute for real people. You can't escape your destiny," said Kirby. "You must do your duty, and only then can you escape your misery. It's a good thing I came to you today. Otherwise, you'd be lying here alone and then dying of helplessness. I know you. You don't ask me for help on purpose. But remember, I'll always be there for you." April had stayed up all night because she was worried about Lake. That's why she had dark circles under her eyes. Suddenly the door opened and Lake walked into the hallway. "Are you all right? What happened yesterday?" The girl literally threw herself into Lake's arms. "Do you know how worried I was when you disappeared? I wasn't worried about being alone in a dark place. I was worried that something might happen to you." "Don't worry. Nothing serious happened," said Lake to the girl. "How can I not worry when a person disappeared right before my eyes? I couldn't sleep a wink because of it," exclaimed the girl, roughly grabbing the Duke by the lapels of his surtout. "Now explain to me in detail what happened this night," April asked. She decided to hide from prying eyes in her study. "But really, nothing terrible happened. You're worrying for nothing. Enough of talking about it already. Let's better have breakfast with you," said Lake to the girl. "You think I started this whole conversation to get attention? Who do you think I am anyway?" grumbled April. The girl rose from her seat and headed for the door. She was tired of Lake constantly hiding things from her. "April, please don't go!" Lake stopped the girl by taking her hand. "I didn't mean anything by it. It's just that not many people were worried about me, so I got confused and said it to you without thinking. If I offended you, I apologize." "Why won't you talk to me honestly?" April asked. "Tell me, but only the truth, what happened to you," demanded the girl. "To be honest, I had asthma as a kid, and lately I've been overexerting myself, so—" Lake started to tell, but the girl stopped him. "None of that's true," April said in a cold, unemotional tone. "I'm a little embarrassed that he confessed to me right away. He mentioned that not many people used to care about him. He probably didn't have anyone to rely on as a child, so it's not easy for him to confide in another person." April guessed. "Okay, let's do it this way. I realize you can't fully open up to me since we've only recently met. That's why you're hiding your problems from me," said April to the Duke. "You don't have to tell me absolutely everything, just don't lie. Let's not undermine each other's trust. That will be enough for me." "Thank you for saying those words to me," thanked the girl Lake. "You're welcome. But if there's anything you want to share with me, just say so." "I'll listen silently and forget it," asked April. April and Lake decided to join their guests. They were having breakfast in the dining room. "Well, you're finally here!" shouted Irene excitedly. "Lady Irene, what's wrong with you? Maybe something is bothering you?" asked April, catching the girl's pensive look. "Oh, I'm sorry about that. It's just that you two look so happy. You're lovers, aren't you?" asked Irene. "What are you talking about? Pardon her, Countess Duke. Irene didn't mean anything wrong," exclaimed Baroness Roland. "I know she did. All the more reason for the lady to make no mistake," April said with a smile. April had been watching Lake for a few days now. He looked perfectly healthy. He had no signs of a condition like that horrible night. It pleased the girl that Lake looked normal. A maid came into the room. She brought some invitations. After the rumors about the relationship between the Countess and the Duke spread across the empire, a lot of invitations came in April's name. Everyone was curious to see the woman who seduced that very Duke Fitzrin. Perhaps see my popularity as a means to publicize the hotel. It would be to my advantage to accept those invitations. but I plan to start participating in the social scene when the season begins. April thought to herself, note at least this invitation. It was sent to you by the Marquis of Contwell. Baroness Roland and Lady Irene have also received a similar invitation, so you won't be bored at this tea party. The maid handed April one of the envelopes. Lake peeked into April's room. The girl invited him in. Is something wrong? Weren't you going to be away on business today? April asked Duke. I still have time to socialize with you. By the way, hotel check-in starts in a few days. Am I reading that right? Did you get a lot of applications? Lake inquired of the girl. Thanks to the advertisement, there were a lot of applications. We even had to select. The hotel will house 6 families, including Baron Roland's family, replied April. It's all thanks to your family tag. Thank you for lending it to me. Now I'm giving it back to you. Since we found the seal of the head of the family, I can now exchange promissory notes for money. Keep that mark until the season is over, in case you need it again. At the same time, you can show it to the other aristocrats. It adds a certain mystique to our relationship, said Lake to the girl. Gordon the butler came into the room and said that it was time for the Duke to leave. Well, it's time for me to go. How quickly time flies in your company, said the Duke, rising from his seat. April also got up from the table because she wanted to walk the Duke to the carriage. April noticed that Irene was secretly watching them. This chance was not to be missed. April kissed the Duke on the cheek. Charlotte had specially come to the new hotel popular among aristocrats to see the relationship between Countess Farcon and Duke Fritzrin with her own eyes. You have come at last. I've been waiting for you so long. I was very bored here alone. My name is Irene Roland. I'm staying at this hotel too, shouted the girl cheerfully as she looked into Charlotte's room. Since we're staying in the same place and we'll be making our debut, let's be friends. You haven't seen the manor yet, have you? Come with me, Lady Charlotte. I'll show you around. Suddenly, Charlotte saw the Countess and the Duke strolling by. So these two are really in love. I thought a man like Duke Fritzrin wouldn't date a woman who is already married. Charlotte muttered in surprise. The Countess once told me she couldn't live without the Duke. I often see them strolling in the park, and I, too, would like to meet my fate and love as they do, exclaimed Irene. Rito noticed that the Tower Master was in an extremely good mood lately. He would come to work with a joyful smile on his face. Rito, don't mind me. By the way, what happened to that case I asked you to handle? Lake asked. I was just about to report to you. Wait a bit, said Rito and started digging through his desk drawer. A while later, Rito pulled out a black pendulum on a long chain. I did some experiments, but I still couldn't figure out what it was made of. I even tried smashing it with a hammer, but it didn't work. That pendulum looks like darkness. It looks weird, said Rito. A few days ago, Lake arrived at the summons. Your lordship, what are you doing here? Surprised the guard. A mage from the tower was summoned. That's why I came here. Well, let's not waste time on idle talk. Better explain to me what's the matter, asked the Duke. The guard explained that people had been going missing for the past few days. The crimes were most often on the outskirts of the slums near the communal areas. It seemed as if the criminals were moving towards the Imperial Castle. Lake launched several search beams into the sky. They were supposed to indicate the whereabouts of the missing people. Suddenly, in one of the back alleys, Lake found a black pendulum. He decided to take it with him. There was a strong magical aura emanating from the pendulum. I wonder if this pendulum can absorb human blood, Lake muttered, examining the pendulum. What are you talking about now? What blood are you talking about? Did you accidentally curse me? Frightenedly exclaimed Rito. Don't worry, it was a joke. You shouldn't worry unnecessarily. By the way, I have to go now. Keep doing your work, said Lake. Are you going to go to Count Farcon's castle again? Will you eat from there after all? Asked Rito. Yes, I'm going back to the Count's castle because I didn't find what I was looking for. Why are you suddenly talking about it? Inquired the Duke. Visitors to the tower are always asking about your relationship with the Countess. They wonder if there is definitely something between you two. I have to mumble something unintelligible every time, Rito admitted. And why are you mumbling? Say it's true. That's exactly the kind of relationship we have, advised Lake. You and the Countess have a relationship? What does that mean? You don't like women, do you? Surprised Rito. The Duke answered him that he didn't love not only women, but all people in general, and even him. But you're a man too, aren't you? Resolved Rito indignantly. Therefore I do not love myself either, replied the Duke. You haven't seen April yet, have you? When you see her, then you'll understand everything. She's very beautiful, and she's also smart. Smiling, the Duke said, Is it definitely our Tower Master? Why is he smiling like that? What kind of person is this Countess Farcon? Surprised, Rito thought to himself, Right, we'll have to invite the Countess to the tower. I'll introduce you two. Oh, and she'll be curious to see the tower from the inside, Lake exclaimed. To be honest, I'm not sure we'll be able to communicate properly with a woman. Confused, Rito admitted. Yeah, that's a good question, since you've never socialized with women. Before you invite April over, you should first find out from her if she would want to socialize with you. By the way, I'll still have to socialize with the dolls in my room about this, Duke said thoughtfully. Duke snapped his fingers and vanished into thin air. It's all a joke, isn't it? They say if a man starts doing something he's never done before, his end is near, mumbled Rito. Back at the Count's castle, Lake noticed April sitting in the garden. The girl was scrutinizing something. April, what are you doing here? Asked Lake to the girl. You gave me a scare. When did you get here? Exclaimed the girl. I came here just now, but you never answered my question. What are you doing here? Lake repeated his question. Keep your voice down. This is a very important moment, whispered the girl. Lady Irene and Lord Hutz appeared in the garden. Lady Irene, if you don't mind, will you be my partner for the entirety of this season? Lord Hutz extended his hand to the girl. Of course, I agree, the girl replied. She placed her hand in the Lord's open palm. I realized it all when I saw how they grew timid the moment they met eyes. But to be honest, I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. I wish they would announce their engagement sooner. April exclaimed happily. How fortunate I am to be staying at Farcon Manor, for it is here that I met you, Lady Irene. Lord Hutz said in an affectionate voice. It is getting dark, and I'm worried about how you will walk back. If you'll allow me, I'd like to walk you out. Lord Hutz took the girl by the hand and led her into the house. Why did they leave? What about the sweet embrace? April wondered. What sweet embrace are you talking about now? The Duke didn't understand. A sweet embrace is when two lovers are alone and surrounded by a romantic atmosphere. They hug each other tightly and even kiss, April explained. A romantic atmosphere? Just like now? Lake thought to himself. Gotta get a grip, Lake exclaimed and hit his head on a metal fence post. I didn't have time to notice what happened, but how could you hit it like that? Took it and hurt your pretty face. The girl exclaimed and touched Duke's cheek. Such words are more suited to you, April. You're the one with the pretty face, said a blushing Lake. But you're not inferior to me in beauty either, so you need to watch your face. Why did you hit that pole? Strange. It happened right after I brought up kissing and hugging, April said thoughtfully. I don't think you were confused by the word kissing. Or did you imagine something in your mind? After all, you, Lake, don't look like the kind of man who's got the devils in a quiet pool. The girl noticed that the Duke blushed even more. What kind of reaction is that? It's just a joke, isn't it? I wonder who he imagined kissing. There's no one here but us. Did he really imagine kissing us? The girl marveled. Listen, how is your illness? Have you got rid of it yet? I've been touching you a lot lately. It would be great if you got rid of it completely. April decided to change the topic of conversation. She was feeling extremely uncomfortable. I touched another person today, so my mood immediately soured, replied Lake. Except that touching you doesn't disgust me, and I don't know why that is. Lake gently kissed the girl's hand. What's the matter? What's going on today? We need to get out of here before the situation gets even weirder. The girl thought to herself. Oh, I'm so hungry. We need to get back to the manor soon, exclaimed the girl and rushed towards the house. Today's incident was just an accident. Neither I nor Lake are capable of dating anyone. There's no need to give in to these emotions because Lake won't be able to love me anyway. The girl persuaded herself. Well, you can start eating, said Lake after the table was set. I shouldn't fight with him after all, because he's the only one who can set the table so deliciously. All the dishes on the table are just perfect, April thought, looking around the table. I'm sorry to interrupt you, mistress, but you have an important letter. A butler entered the dining room. On a red cushion, he carried an envelope that bore the Emperor's palace crest. Is it really time already? Lake said in a sad voice. He guessed that the season of social events had begun. How long have I waited for this? The girl exclaimed joyfully. She really wanted to attend the ball at the Imperial Palace. An Imperial Palace ball. I am obliged to attend it. I purposely didn't go out to the high society to shine at the ball. Opening the envelope, the girl noticed that there were 2 invitations. One was for her, and the other for Lake. Your invitation was sent here. I wonder why it wasn't sent to your manor or magic tower, April wondered. I guess the palace got wind of our relationship, said Lake. I hope you'll go to this ball with me, asked April. The girl knew that Lake didn't like any event where a lot of people gather. She was afraid he wouldn't want to go. Sure, I promised, replied Lake. To be honest, I was afraid you'd turn me down. I was already planning on bringing the skeleton from the lab with me in case you didn't want to go, the girl admitted. Look, won't you get scolded for messing around with a married woman? I mean, you are the sole representative of the ducal family of the Empire. It's unlikely that the Emperor likes you and associating with someone you can't marry. Even if I am scolded, it's no big deal. Meaningless words fly into one of my ears and out through the other. I try not to pay attention to what people talk about, so don't worry about it, said Lake. By the way, this is quite a joyous occasion, so I suggest we have a few drinks. I've just discovered 1 bottle of pretty good wine in this estate. That's a great idea. I haven't had wine in a long time. It's lovely weather outside. Let's move to the balcony, April suggested. It's still nice to drink wine in this exact setting. Taking a deep breath of fresh air, the girl exclaimed. Lake poured wine into a glass and held it out to the girl. April noticed some lights flickering around him. It wasn't the first time she'd seen them. You're studying me so closely. Is there something on my face? Lake asked. No, it's just that it's dark in here and it glows a little. I can usually see fine, but sometimes it's like everything's blurry. Maybe it's because your hair color is lighter than the others. It's like there's some kind of glow around you. April rubbed her eyes. This isn't the first time I've seen something that looks like a glowing caterpillar wriggling around your head and neck. It's hard for me to explain what it is. I hope you understand me. I don't know what you're talking about right now. It's strange that you only see it around me. Maybe I'm shining too brightly, Lake said with a smile. I'm just kidding, though. Maybe you're seeing the effects of magic. We'll have to clarify that. Speaking of which, about your eyesight. Maybe you should start wearing glasses. I think they'd be good for you. No, my eyes aren't that bad. I don't have any problems in normal life. How long are you going to hold the glass? Let's drink soon, exclaimed the girl. April liked the wine very much. It was really very tasty and had a pleasant flavor. Suddenly, the girl noticed Charlotte and Eric. Did they have a relationship too? Looking closer, April realized that there was nothing between the 2 of them. They were conversing in a strictly businesslike manner. Most likely, these 2 were looking for partners for the ball. I didn't think it would break up into couples so quickly. If word gets out, a lot of young girls and guys will want to stay at our hotel. I wish the day of the ball would come sooner. April exclaimed joyfully. Mistress, it's time to wake up, loudly announced the maid as she approached April's bedroom. The long-awaited day of the ball had finally arrived. When the maid entered the room, she saw April sitting on the bed. The girl was surprised at this, for her mistress liked to sleep in before dinner. Naturally, I will not sleep on this day, for I have waited so long for this ball. We must begin preparations as soon as possible. I have to shine today, replied April to the surprised maid. Of course, mistress, you are right. Just recently, Miss Saya arrived at our manor. She brought some dresses with her. narrated the maid. Countess Farkon, long time no see. A smiling Saya entered the room. She was the owner of a women's clothing store that April liked to visit. I brought all my new dresses to your estate. There is one in particular that is particularly lovely. I wanted to see you in it. Saya's assistants brought a red dress into the Countess's room. It was decorated with yellow ribbons and embroidery. The dress was really beautiful. April liked it very much. The maids helped April put the dress on. It fit perfectly. I knew this dress would fit you. I stayed up several nights to make it on time. Saya exclaimed. Mistress, now you need to get your hair done to match, said the maid. April thought for a moment. She didn't know who she could trust with her hair. Maureen entered the room and announced that she was a professional in hair and makeup. She agreed to do the Countess's makeup and hair. A few hours later, April went to the mirror and admired the result. She liked her reflection in the mirror. Maureen really did have a talent. April, you always look good, but today you are simply dazzling, Lake exclaimed admiringly as he entered the room. Thank you. You look really good too, replied the girl with a smile. I didn't come to you empty-handed. I brought a gift. Lake opened a green box, and in it lay a set, earrings and a necklace. April immediately realized that the set was very expensive. I thought this set would suit you very well. At first I wanted to give you jewelry with green stones, but I decided that you would look better with red ones. I hope I wasn't wrong. Oh yes, this jewelry is very beautiful. Are they family jewelry by any chance? Surely I can accept them, April asked. I wouldn't spare anything for you, said Lake, and used his magic to pull out a necklace from the jewelry box. Next to you, these jewels lose their luster, but please accept them, April. Well, since that's the case, put them on, please, April asked. Gladly. Lake placed the necklace around the girl's neck. After putting on the earrings, April walked over to the mirror again. The girl noted to herself that she looked simply gorgeous today. It took so long to get to the palace. It would have been much faster to use your magic. April complained on the way to the imperial palace. It's an empty formality. We're almost there. Smiling, Lake replied. Duke Fitzrin and Countess Farkon, perhaps you should come in separately? There have been no instances of married ladies being accompanied by unmarried partners yet, said, standing at the main entrance, the steward. Announce us together. If there have been no such occasions, it doesn't mean it's forbidden, Lake said in an unperturbed tone. The herald had to announce the arrival of Duke Fitzrin and Countess Farkon. Are you worried? The Duke asked the girl. April admitted that a certain amount of fear was still present. After all, this was the first time she had come to such an event. She had absolutely no idea how to behave. Trust me and follow me. I will definitely help you with everything and tell you how to act. Try not to go too far away from me, said Lake, and led April into the main hall. When Lake and April arrived in the main hall, they immediately felt the stares of those present. April lifted her chin proudly. She had a lot to be proud of. She looked beautiful tonight and was walking arm in arm with a wonderful partner.